Okay, I have not found the issue yet. This was the first one I thought I would cut off. See there? Look at that. That's how much water should be shooting out of there. Okay? And this drip here, so I'm still gonna follow this through. Okay? That's how much water should be dripping. Well, if I were to cut an end off. Now granted, I'm not going to cut this end off. This one's brand new and stuff. And see, look at that. It's not even bubbling out of there yet. And it's like, why isn't that bubbling? You come over here, and I know there's not gonna be any water out of here yet. See? Look at that. Nothing. It's like, what on earth is going on? And that long one. Let's see how much that water's shooting out. This long one should have at least something coming out of it. It's not going to be shooting like that because it's got that bubbler end. See there? That's about how much should be coming out with a bubbler. See? Like that. But I'm still gonna cut that end off to see if the water's shooting out. And like I said, it's a work in progress. I'll get it. I'll figure it out one way or another and find out what is going on with my bubblers over there. Now remember, I said once I figure all this stuff out, I'm gonna find all the old things that need to be revised and stuff. And where this plant used to stand straight up. See how it's all saggy now? That's because I dug into it to try to find the bubbler. I finally found that bubbler. It was way down there. It was coming directly from the pipe, from the main pipe down at the bottom over here. And I don't know how that happened. Well, obviously this plant was not this big when they planted it. It was probably out of 1 gallon and was probably off to the side, and somehow, you know, it grew bigger and it grew right into where the bubbler was. So even though the bubbler is working, I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to extend that up higher so that when this is up high, you know, I'm just going to extend it above the dirt layer. You know what I mean? 2.5 inches or so, in case anybody ever wants to shave this off. They'll never hit the bubbler, but at least the bubbler will be up out of the dirt. Okay? And as for bubblers that need to be fixed, look at this. Here's the main. Here's a 1/4 inch tube to a T to a, I think that's a 2 gallon per hour bubbler. Comes off, goes up here. Here's another bubbler right here. What's that for? And then the end. Okay, that's how somebody decided to do that. You think I'm going to leave it that way? Heavens forbid. I'm never going to do that. I'm going to end up doing this different. In fact, I don't like if I have a chance, I'd rather not run 2 bushes off of the same 1/4 inch tube, because first off, the water pressure isn't as high because you're running 2 plants off of a T. Those T's have very small holes in them. The coupling has a very small hole. Here you've got another coupling right there, has a very small hole. T's have 3 very small holes, and up to here. Do you see what I mean? And so what I'll end up doing for this entire one, I'll probably end up pulling it off from here because the tube's not very long, and run a brand new one from here to there. And then for that one, I'll have to decide what I want to do. Do I want to come off of this pipe and poke in a new one going over to here? Or, see, I haven't even looked at this fully yet, because here's the other pipe. Now that pipe there goes along and extends over to there. This pipe keeps going that way. over that way, see? And so theory has it, there's probably a bubbler that's buried in the ground coming off of that tube right there over to here, which means I'm going to have to move all the decomposed granite, slide that over, dig around here, and see if I can't find a bubbler. If I can't find a bubbler and I determine that there's nothing coming off of there, I could still, I'll have that exposed. I could still just come off of that one with a new one, that long, you know, maybe a foot long, and I won't have to go from here all the way over to there because I have it, because it'll be dug up. You see what I mean? Or I can come from here, either way. And you'll find when you start checking all kinds of things, you're going to end up having different parts. I'm going to have a new coupling here. I'm going to have a T I'm not going to use. Hopefully that will still work as a regular dripper. If we don't end up planning anything along here, I've got a bubbler right here, right? See this bubbler? It's going to nothing. It was just buried because there was an old plant there. That one was coming up to that plant. Okay, I could take that one off and put a plug right there, can I? And then just bury that, and then I'll have this bubbler. I could do the same thing with that one. I can put a plug, I can cut that one off, use that bubbler somewhere else. Or if I was running low on T's, I could carefully pull it out of that pipe over there and pull that out and put the plug right in there. Then I have an extra coupling. You just have to be careful when you try to pull those couplings out, because if you're not pulling at the right angle or holding your mouth just right, especially on something that's 25 years old, you could snap off half of your coupling and have it left in there, and you're thinking, oh man, how do I get that out? If you poke that rest of that coupling in there to put a new coupling, yeah, that's fine. Now you're going to have a little tip that's traveling in your line somewhere. If the water pressure is going this way, it could come over and it could get lodged in one of your other drippers or something along the line. You see what I mean? And so then what I've done before is I cut the main pipe off and then put a coupling in there on the main pipe. So it's a lot more hassle. Because I have so many couplings, I'm not going to chance removing the coupling. I would just cut this off and put a plug right there, you know. And then if you want, you can do a little master plan of all your stuff, and then you can kind of mark, okay, I've got some pipes right there with plugs in them, in case you ever want to plant something, you know, oh hey, I got some drippers, 1/4-inch tubing coming out there, and I can tap off of that for the plant that's right there, or they might be long enough for where I'm going to put the plant anyways, you know, stuff like that. All right, so I'm still troubleshooting the power or the water, and so I'm right here at this point working this way. Okay, away I go.